Hello, everyone. Welcome to Belkins webinar. Thanks everyone for joining us. My name is Julia, and I will be moderating this webinar today. Let me introduce our speakers. So we have Josh, our outreach expert, and we have Michael, our co-founder in Belkins. Okay, guys, I wish you a great webinar, and I'm leaving the stage. Let's start.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. It's great to have you all here. We will give a couple more minutes to the rest of our attendees who are still joining in. Hope you're having all a great day. Hope you're ready to learn some stuff. We've got a lot of good, helpful, insightful information. I know that Michael has a lot on his plate right now, but he's been able to dedicate an hour of our time. So it's great to have you here, Michael. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, Josh. It's interesting to be on the other side of this, being a guest, not the host of this. So thanks for taking over though, and hosting every webinar from the time I've been doing that last year. So kudos for the great job that you've been doing and working with the audience and creating content and sharing insights for all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's honestly quite the shoes to fill. You do a great job. I'm really excited to have you here today. Yeah, obviously, you know, they know who we are. Everyone knows who we are, but it'd be great to hear just a couple of minutes about you if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, while we're waiting for everyone to join, for those who don't know who Belkins is and who I am personally, so I'm one of the founders. I started this agency back in 2016 with my partner Vlad, and I've been kind of continuing building this thing over the last 6 years, and I've been wearing many hats, and I started as an SDR in our company, building the SDR team, and then account management team, and then the sales team. And now I am currently running our marketing team. And so whatever content you see out there, that probably I saw that and I proved that. So and also work with a lot of our clients right now and work on other R&D things. So yeah, I'll be happy to talk about the report that was created and to add to what Josh had prepared for you guys with some of my experience and my insights. So I'm happy to be speaking in front of you guys, and hope that you guys can have a lot of fun here.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, it's great to have, you know, someone that had a big part in doing this Outbound report. I remember when I first downloaded it, I was thinking maybe it's going to be I don't know, 20, 30, 40 pages. And I see it's like 120 something, you know, slides. I'm like, wow, yeah. This is really detailed. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Josh. I am an outreach expert here at Belkins. If you have seen our YouTube videos, you probably recognize me, but I actually started with the company as an account manager, had a lot of fun doing that. It was really awesome to be able to build some really good client relationships, and then also see from the inside how our team works, each specific aspect, whether it's email deliverability, research, you know, SDR work. It was great to be, you know, just kind of sit back and watch everything and hope that everything goes out well, come up with ideas and strategies. But for today, I'm going to be hosting this webinar. So very happy to have such a special guest with us today. And I guess without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. So in case you don't know Belkins, who we are, we have been working in B2B sales successfully for over 5 years now. We specialize in appointment setting. So we are the #1 company on Clutch in like lead generation. And we are, as I would go as far as to say that we are the industry leader, just because I've seen clients come to us from different companies that do what we're similar doing. And, you know, they always have good words to say about what we've done in the long run for them. So we work with more than 50 different industries. We've worked with over 1,000 different satisfied clients, and we've been able to schedule over 201,000 appointments and growing. So it's great to be a part of something that's working so well. I would definitely have to say hats off to the hardworking team that we have. It's usually long mornings, long nights, working into late hours just to get everything done and to deliver what we're promising. So yeah.
The team is, oh my God, kudos to the team. You know, I think that whoever is asking me the question, like Michael, you know, what kind of milestones you think you guys hit, or what is the success, etc. I would say that the only one thing that I've done successful in my life is putting together this amazing team of professionals who is doing the lifting and and hustling and working with clients are very dedicated, resourceful, and just making the things happen. So kudos to the Belkins team, and great job, guys. So
yeah, for sure. I remember when I first joined actually Belkins, I was very intrigued by the fact that we don't have working hours. Like, we work when we have the ability to. We set our own hours, and that was really what I really wanted, because having a family, it's not always as easy to schedule a normal 9 to 5 per se job. And so when I first found out that we have the availability, it was like, wow, this is awesome. And I remember talking with some of my teammates at the time, and I was like, this is so great. I'm going to have more time. And two of my colleagues started laughing, and I didn't understand back then why, but now I do. It's because we really do work our hardest. We do our best to deliver everything that we can. So moving on, why did we want to do this report? Why did we, take action to essentially lead the way into what we expect 2023 to look like in regards to outreach? First off, we like to dig out challenges. Any solutions that we can come up with to help our clients be more successful, it's all the merrier for us. We don't want to have clients that come to us and then not see success, or they leave with what they wanted, but they were hoping for a little bit more. We really like to dig in and find the pain points, find the things that are holding them back, all the bottlenecks, because in the end, there's pretty much every collaboration is going to end at some point, and why not end the collaboration setting our clients off for success, so that when they do similar things as what we've been doing, they can have it a lot better and they can see a lot better results. So yeah. And then number two, because we want to track how B2B, how basically the B2B landscape is going to change and is already changing. I know that Michael and I have talked multiple times about how, everything is kind of changing. So Michael, do you want to share any of your thoughts about how, you feel that, outreach in general is changing here in this last couple months?
Yeah, thanks, Josh. I've seen a lot of things happening over the course of my professional career, and what is interesting is I noticed that everything in sales and in marketing, in specifically B2B, is moving in the circles. So something that was trending, a few years ago is not trending now, but it's going to be trending again in the next few years. So when cold calling was really powerful when I started, then it was that, and now it's go back on track, right? Because less people are doing it, more people want that, etc., etc. The same goes with like technology, right? Like in 2017, when we've been just starting embracing the technology, like engagement platforms, lead tools, powerful CRMs that every B2B company should have had. Now it's too much technology, too much automation. We want personalization. We want something, a human factor, right? Although we see a lot of breakthrough in technology innovation, like ChatGPT and other, still, and we're going to talk, I think, today through our report, that there are some things that people still need to do to be successful, and automation technology is not the only one of them, right? And there's a lot of things that needs to be done manually. So yeah.
All right. Well, don't share all the secret sauce before we get to it. I think that, what you mentioned, though, it does pretty much lead right into our third point, which is adjusting to a new era of outreach, without losing time and money. That's, on everyone's minds right now. What are the things that are changing? Why are they changing? What factors are, playing a big part in the fact that everything is changing, whether that be the recession that's pretty much on everyone's mind right now, whether that be ChatGPT, or just, the changes in AI and, any kind of new automation, any kind of technology. There's tons of things that are changing. And so many people, from my experience, I've talked with so many people, and they're just kind of like, how do I keep up? Like, how do I understand what's next? And I don't fall behind. And then everyone's talking about something that happened 3 years ago and talking about something that's happening now. And I'm just like now catching up to what happened 3 years ago. It's like, oh, wait, hold on. Let me buy a ticket. I'll hop on the train with you. You guys just teach me everything you know. Yeah. So I guess to sum it up, that's kind of why we're here. We want to help you to be able to feel that you understand what's going to happen in this next year. So some numbers this report, we didn't just sit down, me and Michael, and, just come up with all this information from scratch. We did have 2,500 respondents take part in this report. Basically, it was 10% large enterprises, 50% mid-sized companies, and then 40% small businesses. The 6 industries that we focused specifically on, they were the biggest part of the report. Was actually just the first 2 I would say would be 26% software development and then e-learning with 21%. Titles, they did differ, but the highest 2 titles that we were able to, ask and get feedback from were head of marketing and head of sales. And then a majority of all of our respondents were from the United States. So it was about 80%.
Just want to add on this, just for people to give some context to them. So we talked to a lot of companies, and this is one of the great opportunities of this market. People say that once you start in the lead gen, you're going to be forever working in this space, just because there's so much fun in here. You meet so many people, a lot of great organizations, and you just exchange ideas, exchange thoughts, learn from them, right? And we've been lucky to learn from a lot of companies working with them, as well as companies who considered us to be their service provider. So over the last, I think like 3 years alone, we've probably talked to almost 10,000 businesses. Our sales team, our account management team talked to them. And for a lot of these businesses, we fill some questionnaire, we collect data on them, and we kind of store and categorize the data. So almost a year ago, we've ended up building this massive data set of very valuable insight that we learned from all of these businesses. And we stop for a second and hold on. Why don't we just structure that, analyze that, and then spend it in the next 12 months to putting together a great report for the people to learn from what we've learned and just share out there, right, the knowledge. So that's why you would see that 50% of the mid-size respondents is because a lot of our clients are mid-sized companies. The 10% enterprise, that's because the chunk of the clients, a smaller one, is from the enterprise and then smaller business. The same goes with the software development. The reason why we have so many software development is that a lot of software development companies actually use Outbound, and they look to outsource. So they've talked to us. So we've ended up building a huge database of information from that industry. And we talked to a lot of head of marketing, head of sales. So essentially, just to sum up on this, we didn't go out there and we did this study, right? We've just historically generated a lot of data, and we decided to structure it and then share it with everyone, right? That's why whatever you guys see right now and whatever you see in the report is the data that we use on the daily, weekly basis to work with clients, to make some smart decisions on them. And these are the things that we build our playbooks on. So I hope you're going to have a lot of insights from it, or maybe not the insights, but some patterns that maybe you've ended up thinking about the same, right? But you just kind of confirmed the idea that, oh yeah, that's actually it.
And if you happen to be on our last webinar, this right here is a straight up example of why we talked about how CRMs are important. Because if you've got so much data that you don't know where to track and where to keep, you won't be able to do these kinds of reports. And, I really do hope sincerely that this report will resonate well with all of you here today. And then, with all the other people that have downloaded it already. But, once again, having a CRM, a place where you can actually store all this information, it's so important. So, so moving on, essentially what you're going to learn from today. So the profiles of surveyed companies, their experience with Outbound, trends and pain points with these 6 industries, steps that business owners should take to lessen uncertainty, and then key takeaways and outbound tactics to start implementing. We do have a poll that we'd like to launch here right now. You should see it by your chat box. If you look up by chat, there should be polls. We're going to go ahead and start off with a poll before we get any further into our webinar today. So what industry are you most interested in? That's something that's on our minds. That's kind of what we talked about before, talking about what exactly we're going to be diving into, because it's a very, very detailed report. Once again, it's like 120 something slides. So we just physically don't.
It's over 190 or something like that.
190?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was like 128. I don't know why I'm coming that way.
Maybe I was using the director's cut, right?
Probably seeing all the extra info that no one else sees. So once again, we got so much information, and we don't want to bore you with a 3-hour session today. So we decided basically, once we can get these answers for these polls, we'd like to basically tackle 2 industries specifically, so that we have more time to actually dive into them specifically, instead of just kind of rushing our way through all 6 industries. So Yeah,
And
we'll
if we
give
have
you guys
time,
another.
if we have time, I think we can get back to one extra industry, right? So just really
Yeah.
wanted to focus on the two as core, and then just move on and add one more if we have time.
If you and I don't talk too much.
Mm.
We're both talkers, but we'll try and limit it. All right. Well, software development currently is winning from what I'm seeing. We'll maybe take another 30 seconds to a minute. Yeah, by the way, if you were maybe away and just joined, we have a poll that's up on the screen right now. You can find it by your chat box. And if you're available to just let us know what industry you're most interested in, please do let us know.
That's what we're going to be talking the next 20 minutes. So very important to make the right choice here, not to get bored with this. And, I mean, 8 people, I think not 8. Okay, so 32% software development, one of the most challenging industry out there, very tough to sell, specifically you're doing outbound, a lot of competition, a lot of
A lot
interesting
of competition.
approaches. Yeah. But if you do it smart, if you do it the right way, you can definitely yield some good results. We've seen so many good clients, and we have a lot of case studies on the website available. So check out Belkins/case studies. You'll see a lot of software development companies sharing their experience about what approach they used, what templates they used, what conversions you might expect, what are the challenges in that industry. So go ahead, dive into those case studies after the webinar if you want to learn more.
So while we're giving the rest of you some time to just, leave your answers, just an overall, kind of look at, who all we surveyed. So this is basically the profile of the survey companies and their experience with outbound. So it was 80% USA. We had about 5% Canada and 10% UK and then 5% EU. So it was basically mainly America, but we did, have kind of a mix and match. So and then basically the outbound goals of all of the surveyed companies, connecting with niche industries, testing new approaches, engaging new markets, increasing brand awareness, and generating leads for overcoming growing pains. It's interesting, you see 40% increasing brand awareness. That's something that I've heard a lot about here recently, more than I did before ever. Even in my prior jobs, I felt like it was always just about getting new clients, attaining new clients, building longer relationships, making sure that your collaboration lasts long. And just for this last year, it's just, we want to get our name out there. We want to get our brand out there. We want to show what we can do, probably because LinkedIn is helping a lot in that way. I know, you're pretty much like our marketing guru, Michael. So what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I think just look at this. So, on average, you might be able, one SDR might be able to run a campaign between, 2,000 to 5,000 leads a month. So 2,000, 5,000 people a month who are going to see your logo, who are going to know your name, who are going to engage with your company, right? And then on average, you're sending a cadence of 3 to 5 emails. So you're looking at between 75,000 to 100,000 emails being sent with your company name, with your logo, with your links, with your pitch, right? And very often we've seen people opening emails 5, 10 times, with forwarding emails internally. So it's a massive marketing hit to the relevant organizations that are in your sweet spot, right? Because the very interesting thing about the outbound is that every name of the company in the list that you're emailing to, every person, who they are and why you're emailing them, right? So it's a massive campaign. So when you do that with a high email deliverability, with a high open rate, even without yielding some results right now, without booking appointments month 1, you're generating so much exposure than month 3, month 4, month 5, month 6. It's a certain kind of nurturing way where you can get back, and some prospects will get back to you, registered on your inbound marketing channel, et cetera, et cetera. So it's, it's just, very often what I know is that people just really focusing on the short-term results. And that's something that, if there are people here that are running their marketing teams, that are thinking about their, long-term marketing win, know that marketing is one of those investments that you need to do consistently over the longer period of time without changing anything. So the best marketing teams are the marketing teams that have been with the company since the day one, right? The best marketing leaders have been the leaders that have been with you since the beginning of the company, right? Whenever you're changing we're changing the teams, changing the budget, changing the channels, you always step back, right? So, and the increasing brand awareness is one of the great things about it, right? So if you consistently send good crafted emails to a bunch of people that you know that are in your sweet spot, then every time you do that, you're going to have better results, better conversion, better brand awareness, and then overall better, more healthier pipeline. So.
Well, and in general, I think that, if you're doing heavy outreach and your materials, your case studies, your website, your LinkedIn profiles are not updated, it's just kind of a shot in the foot in a sense. You could be sending out the best templates ever. You could be sending out a great approach and you could be getting really good results, but you're not seeing any kind of results because all the information you're sharing is basically just not up to par to what, the people are really wanting to see. So
Right.
I think that does heavily tie in. You want to make sure that before you do any kind of outreach, you're making sure that whatever you're going to be sending to these prospects, it's up to date, not like 2017 info, more like 2022, 2023.
Agree.
Yeah.
And then just to add on this, look at the screen, guys. Outbound goals. So very often you like, hey, I want to increase my brand awareness. Hey, I want to book appointments through appointment setting or through lead gen, right? But not many companies think about, well, we can engage new markets with the outbound, the markets that we didn't enter before. Let's test. We wanted to test new approaches, new product, new features, even the messaging. It's very important, right? Because it's a direct way to testing your value proposition. Why don't we create value proposition A and then value proposition B and then test 500 companies who respond better to what page, right? So we always, before we release a new feature, before we release a new product, or we always try to test. So our business development team always have a few industries in their backlog that they always test, they always go after, and we don't necessarily need to generate some good clients from those industries, but we really wanted to test and tap into those industries, right, and see how it goes. And we've had so many clients that we work with that said, well, one of the great things about Belkins was that we were able to open new markets, or we were open, we were able to open new verticals. So this is my message to you guys: just go out there, experiment, test, and use Outbound not just the tool to leverage appointment setting and generate leads, but rather just look broadly into overall 360 marketing, right? And then how you can leverage Outbound as your marketing instrument, not just the lead generation tool.
Yeah, great opinion. I completely agree with you. So yeah, I mean, overall, our titles were, as we said, mix and match. We had 23% head of marketing, we had 20% CEO, founder, owner, 19% head of sales, VP of marketing, and then other. There's quite a few different titles, so we can't just all put every single one of them. That's why we have other. And then the industries, as we mentioned, we started with specifically 6. So we've got basically our, software development, e-learning, advertising and marketing, manufacturing, financial technology, business consulting, and then once again, other. So we really focused on the fact that, each industry does have its own specific niche, and each industry has its own, even if you go down to the bare bones, each industry has an approach that works best for it. So it's important to evaluate everything and look at everything instead of just a couple of different industries and specific titles. So yeah. So I guess marketing and advertising and software development are our 2 winners. They're actually tied for first. So we'll definitely go ahead and go through those. And then also business consulting and financial technology, they also tied. So Michael, let's see if we can get through 4. I'm not sure that we can, but we'll see. So yeah, moving on, this is what our report showed, COVID-19. I'm sure everyone's tired of hearing about COVID-19 by now. I know I am, but it does play a really big role in how everything's going, and it still is playing a big role. Face-to-face meetings have been basically canceled out for almost 2 years now because of COVID restrictions, because of travel restrictions, because of people being cautious about not getting sick and then being out of the office for 2 weeks, which, basically has made the demand for B2B outbound marketing to be so much higher than it was before. When you could just call up a company and say, hey, let's meet at this cafe. I'll buy you a coffee and just hear my pitch. We can't do that as much anymore. And that's definitely played a heavy toll on outbound in itself.
Yeah. And I mean, even the speed that we are, currently moving post-COVID, right? Like I remember before COVID, I always can have a client meeting in the office or have a face-to-face meeting with the prospect or generally with the prospective candidate. And now because my calendar is stacked with like Zoom calls every half an hour, I just cannot go outside and just spend an hour commuting to a point A, doing a coffee, and then going back to the office. Just don't have time for that. So I think that, we are living in another world where face-to-face meetings and conferences is like a luxury of the time and resources that you wanted to go out there to spend, to connect, to network, but not necessarily to generate business opportunities or generate clients, because you can successfully do that globally using Zoom, using Google Meet, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's probably by now opening the window and just getting a breath of fresh air is like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
Let alone, I mean, being able to actually go and physically meet with somebody. That's something that I prefer as well. I'm not a huge fan of
but at the
digital.
same time, Josh, I mean, for listeners here, you just had a baby recently. Congrats you on that.
Thank you.
So, I mean, it's a great opportunity to work from home, to stay
Oh,
with
yeah.
your kid, with your wife, right? And not afraid that you need to have a 9 a.m. appointment in the office or a meeting or etc. So there's like a pros and cons in that, right?
Yeah, for sure. It is definitely, there are positive and there are negative aspects. Sometimes when I'm trying to do shooting, it can be hard. I don't want to be kind of in the way of, family life, but at the same time, it is so much easier to just wake up, drink a cup of coffee, and then just hop on the first call. So yeah, I mean, that's basically point two is, the common trend for businesses across the globe to, start diving into the digital transformation that we're seeing right now. Not only like Zoom meetings, but all of the different automation systems that we've got, all of the different AI tools. I mean, ChatGPT is pretty much on everyone's feed right now. It's all of this digital transformation, all of these new ways to be digitally more inclined to grow faster and to set yourself up for success in a sense. It's honestly mind-blowing to see how many things are popping up even in this just last year. I mean, I feel like 2022, beginning of the year, it was just kind of a little bit here and there. You're kind of hearing about this, hearing about that. And then just 2023 blew up with, the layoffs that's happening because of everything changing and, ChatGPT kind of just destroying everything with how well it works. But yeah, I mean, and so then also, that led to the increased activity for the services and products that help to adapt to the new landscape. So, having an understanding about what's changing and what the landscape looks like, that's the first step. But then also understanding what am I going to do to move alongside it, not against it, or try and stay in my own ways and stay in the ways that I grew up for years and years and years working with. There's always going to be something that changes and that needs to be in our mindset. We need to be ready to be flexible to change alongside it so that we can learn and grow from everything that's growing in the world right now. So all right. So I guess we'll go ahead and start off with software development then. So yeah, I guess before we get into the details, Michael, do you have any specific comments, any kind of thoughts? I mean, just from my quick 30 seconds, I remember when I went through the report and, just knowing from being an account manager, software development is kind of everywhere. I feel like it is even more than ever right now, just the hot topic. Everyone's talking about software development. It's something that there's so many competitors out there. They're so they're implementing everything that they've got, everything that they can create into pretty much every industry. There's almost like nothing that a software development team can't do nowadays. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with you. And then, the software development, I think we would spend like 30, 45 minutes just talking about software development alone. I think,
Probably.
right? But when I look at even the screen that you guys are looking at right now, what is the goal for your current campaign? It's like these are the answers that the software development companies gave in terms of why they are doing outbound, right? And these are most of the successful ones, right? And one of the interesting things they said that they do that to build up performance to meet growing needs, right? So they started thinking that it's not like a they cannot just simply start a campaign and generate results, or establish their marketing and start generating results. They need to build it up, right? Mm-hmm. So they start building things up, and it's very important, right? Because very often, if you're in this business and you start and hired few business development people, few sales guys, and you say, okay, guys, so let's go and generate clients, that's not going to work. So we've seen only successful campaigns when you already had some build up beforehand, right? When you have overall marketing team working to build things up. And then we know that we've done, I think, Josh, we've done probably over 100 campaigns, or 100 different, we worked with over 100 different companies in software development industry over the past 5 years. And about 50% were successful, 50% were not successful. And the difference is that in terms of the expectation that a company has, if you are in the software development space and you want to be successful and you know that you will have a successful campaign, the matter is what is conversion you want to expect and what period of time. So if you want to build it up, the conversion will be growing. But if you expect a very high conversion, if you didn't do that before, then that's probably not going to probably happen. And no one out there that can do that, where it's going to be successful from the first day, right? So just really talking about these points, building up performance, very important. Exploring new markets and engage new target audiences, hugely important, because very often when you start a campaign, you say, well, here is my titles, here are my industries, and very often they're very broad, right? Like very like fintech or SaaS, or we work with startups, right? And very often when you engage this audience, you won't going to yield a lot of huge results, because they're very broad, very generic. But when you start building your ICP segmentation, your audience segmentation, you start looking at, well, we really work greatly with, like startups in education that rate Series A, that are specializing in JavaScript, et cetera, right? And if you start engaging these companies with the outbound campaign, then you're going to see much higher results, right? So I think that the point that I'm having here is really exploring new markets, engaging very target audience, break them into segments, build up the performance, use cold email as your marketing channel that will also be very closely transitioned to a sales channel, because they are all kind of combined with email marketing. And then you sort of like run different campaigns at the same time, being every next time more accurate with the way you do that, but don't expect accuracy from the day one, right?
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, just like as you mentioned, building it up from the start, it's important to go into any kind of campaign, any kind of outreach with a plan. And to have a plan, you have to be accurate. You have to know exactly what you want. You have to know who your ideal target would be, because it's easy to just, send out emails to hundreds of thousands of companies. But in the long run, if you look at a company that works with you for 2 months or 3 months, that's great, but if you work with a company that works for years with you, I mean, that's what everyone wants, and that requires the accuracy. It requires doing the build up method in the very beginning, that you understand how everything needs to look, how everything needs to work, and how everything needs to work in the long run, so that it's not just a quick sale and then no return. It's just a couple of months. So yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Look at the channels, guys, that the software development companies are using. Before COVID, I remember about 50% of all the clients that we've talked to, they always used trade shows and events as one of their main lead generation channels. But during COVID, then, that's not happening. So companies start diversifying. So they start looking at other channels, and look at the even split that they have. So they invest in email marketing, they do social media advertising, they do search engine optimization. And the reason why a search engine is not as hugely popular as email marketing or social media advertising is because it's a very tough to enter the search engine optimization game these days, just because there's so much content out there and there's a lot of really good players in that game. So people start to looking at more cost-effective channels like email marketing or social media advertising. Look, like companies are doing webinars, companies are doing content marketing, video marketing, they're doing public relations, telemarketing, they're doing all of that. So the idea here is that you need to diversify, and you need to try to be omni-channel, and to sort of like invest your marketing budget into as many of these targeted channels as you can, to then have a snowball effect and overall generate results, higher results, and sort of like build up the performance from all of those channels into one overall marketing targets that you're going to be achieving on a monthly basis.
So Michael, I have a question for you. I'm interested to hear your thoughts. If you were per se a startup and you're wanting to start from scratch, you don't have a very big budget, out of all the different channels, what channel would you start with? If you could only invest in one specific channel, what would you start with?
I would definitely start with email marketing, because when we started, we had $100, right? So we've had a landing page built on Wix. We had 2 case studies, 1 client, and that's it. So we didn't go after advertising, right? We didn't have money for that. We didn't go after content strategy because it's expensive, right? We went and we start sending emails, start talking to people, start like calling, etc. And once we've ended up building that momentum, building those channels, then we are able to then invest into social media. Then we can do some content strategy. Then we can do some PR. We can do some more like cost-effective channels. We can do webinars. We can do virtual events. And then we've ended up doing the social, doing the advertising, and then the trade show. So the advertising and the trade shows being the most effective, the most expensive channels. We started actually leveraging those 2 channels maybe a few years ago. That's it. During our first 3-4 years, we didn't even think about that, right? Because going to a venue is going to spend $15,000, $25,000 to have a booth, to get the tickets, to get the hotel booked, etc. Right? And then for the advertising, I mean, I'm not sure whether you guys saw the recent cost of click, right? But it's expensive and it's difficult to optimize. So right now, I'll give you my number right now. I think we're at about $450 to $500 per demo using advertising, but we already probably spent a few $1 million over the last years to optimize this channel. So if you're just starting with this and you just had $10,000 and you wanted to spend them on ads, you won't get nothing from that, just because you're going to spend more resources optimizing and actually just getting the right conversion. So at the end, you're going to just rank just a handful of appointments. So
very insightful. Yeah, that's pretty much what I thought. I think that it is important to start off getting out there, not necessarily having nothing to show, but basically you got to start somewhere, right? So so basically the pain points that our respondees had basically mentioned as a very common one for them would be intense competition, which if you heard, we kind of joked about that in the very beginning, how this is a very competitive industry. It's every other company nowadays that's a startup is, SaaS or specifically software development. So, the competition is definitely there. It's definitely something that plays a big part in how active and how, in a sense, pushy your campaigns might be, or in a way persuasive. I could say that would be better. But then also, the need for brand awareness, which is one of the things we also talked about today. So, being able to raise awareness for your brand in a way that you are standing out from other competitors, that's something that we've really tried to help out a lot of our clients with, in the sense of, we do appointment setting for them, but we also can do like influencer programs, helping to raise their awareness, the brand awareness, raise them as an influencer so that they get a little bit of like an extra nudge in the right direction. In general, just, the different ways to solve these pain points, you want to have a very, very, very focused targeting system. So, you want to have a granular research of specific target markets. You want to have it so focused that you understand exactly everything about each industry that you're targeting, each title that you're targeting, whether that be personalization in, the templates and actually pulling in the pain points of the titles that you're reaching out to show that you're very focused, you're very intentional about what you're doing. Which then also brings into play, the close attention to the presence of your competitors. One of those things that's very effective is when you're reaching out to somebody through any kind of outreach, talking about, not necessarily how bad a different company is. You don't want to do that. That's just, not professionally, good manners, but talking about how you stand out and how you, in a sense, are better than the competition that's on the market at the time. So, and then, examining perfect buyers personas, it's very important that you go into anything prepared and you've examined everything. You can literally honestly go to anybody and say, yes, I've done my due diligence. I know exactly who you are, what you do, why you're here, and why you need us. So yeah. All right. And then the trends, trends are something that I love to talk about. So I'll maybe pass the word along to you, Michael.
No, I mean, yeah, I think that we just kind of skim through this real quick because we still have a market advertising and we took more time with you than we expected. Again, very important here, new markets, new opportunities, number 2 here, right, in the list. Very important to make sure that you always go after new verticals, you always explore, and you're not just stuck with one industry and that's it, right? Obviously, a lot of companies, trying to either enter US market already there and trying to establish more relationships and just trying to focus on this market. And then the Dream Software Development client portrait are really, we've seen so many companies going after the same buying persona of the same industry. So a lot of going after healthcare and medical. Fintech is number 1, no questions asked, right? Like number 1, like whenever we have a new company join, say, hey, we wanted to go after fintech, right? Retail, e-commerce, and then IT, and then a lot of companies start thinking about the cybersecurity and just going in that space, all things considered. So look at these industries and think about, well, we don't want to go after this industry. Think creatively about what industry you can go after, not to compete with all of those companies that filled out this report, right? And just think strategically. So I think that the one of the great values of the report is you have a lot of information about what decisions are company making or about what they think about, and then either try to do the same or try to do the opposite way from them, and just try to think like, well, if I'm competing with other software development companies, what they're doing, okay, so that's what I shouldn't be doing, and doing maybe something else, and being very critical about the decision that you guys are making, right? So
basically being a trendsetter, right?
Yeah,
Standing
exactly.
out. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and move to marketing and advertising. So yeah, in general, main objectives, we're going to try and go through this pretty quickly so that we can also have some good time for question and answers, because we do really want to hear from you and your questions. So, the biggest thing was to target, engage new markets and niches, similar to what we talked about with software development. It's important to target new industries. I did actually have a client of mine, for example, that when they first came to me, they said, we'd like to target these industries. And it's okay, we can do that. Have you considered reaching out to these industries? And once they actually agreed and they actually said, yes, let's try it out, their success went up. It was inspiring, because it's, we have our team that really shares their inputs on our onboarding calls, for example, and we just talk with our clients and we pour into making sure that we set them up for success. And so targeting and engaging new markets is definitely something that we really push and we really encourage, because just because something works doesn't mean it's not going to always work. And just because something works doesn't mean something else won't even work better. So yeah. And then also achieving new growth and, building more value. I can't add anything else besides what that says already. It's just, you got to have growth and you want to have value. If you don't have those two things, then time to go back to the drawing board and kind of rethink, in general.
Right.
Once again,
very
yeah,
often
go ahead.
This industry, just to add on this, very often in marketing advertising industry, you work with clients for a long period of time and you nurture this relationship. So in a way, you kind of you sometimes forget about going after new opportunities and building up the pipeline. So it's very important for marketing advertising companies to strategically think about their sales teams and about building up the pipeline and always generating fresh leads, and doing that through other channels, not just the advertising, but rather just going after and using some other channels, right? And to achieve the actual growth. And you can achieve that growth through just adding more clients through through those channels. So
yeah, and I mean, if you look at the chart here, omnichannel is the winner for here, so they're definitely they're doing this thing right. Okay. Yeah, and then pain points, lack of in-house resources. This is something we hear very often. The extensive lead research was putting too much pressure on the in-house departments, which then led to extension of their sales cycles and reducing close rates. Yeah, and then to solve that, basically outsourcing. That's a great option. If you don't have the in-house resources that you need to get what you need, for example, that's what we do. We specialize in appointment setting. We help clients that come to us and say, I want to just hop on the call and know that I have the time to prepare for that call, instead of working for preparation for the call and then at the same time responding to somebody about something completely different. That's just one of those many different things that you can consider when kind of considering outsourcing. It's just a fraction of all the different tasks, whether it's lead research, follow-ups, schedulings. There's so many different things that take so much time, and you might not have necessarily the resources for everything you need to get done in-house.
Yeah.
And then also no-shows, so prospects who are hesitant or easily distracted, expose the necessity for additional steps to reintroduce prospects into the end of the sales funnel. Quick and simple, use outsourced team support. You got to have somebody that helps you and it's got your back in a sense. That's something that I really do pride our company about. Is I've seen firsthand when I first started and when I've been working for, more than a year now, I've seen how many times our team just really, hits a home run and they just say, we're just going to get our clients back with this situation. And we're going to make sure that we don't not deliver. They want to deliver and we want to deliver. So, understanding that even no shows are not an issue. We spam multiple emails each month just to try and reach out again and say, hey, I know we missed you, but we'd like to still hop on the call with you. Let's do it. And so it's that support that they've had, our clients have had, to that they've been able to see that, these no-shows that usually would be just one more task on my list of tons of stuff that I got to get done, I can just hand it over to this team that works with me and they get it done and I don't have to worry about it. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, we actually met this time and everything's good. So
yeah. I have a few points here, but let's move on with the presentation because we don't have a lot of time here. All right. So yeah, some trends here. There are more trends in the report. So if you check the report, you'll see much more trends here. I think like we've already talked about targeting. We didn't talk about the personalization and the LinkedIn. So by personalization, we mean that you really wanted to cater your pitch and your value proposition to prospects in a very sort of like, I wouldn't say like personalized manner, but in a very honest manner where you show me that you know me, right? That you really know my pain points, but you don't assume. You sort of like, you just, you show examples of how it works, right? Because very often I think that a lot of mistakes that business development, the marketing team are doing, they are assuming like, hey, I assume you're CEO, so you don't have time for this and you have time for this. They assume, right? Instead of just, hey, here is what the situation is with a lot of CEOs. You have the same situation or not, right? So in that way, you can kind of personalize in a more, I would say, in an effective manner, right? And then LinkedIn helps a lot. So we've seen that a lot of companies invest into, content, invest into advertising, invest into whatever, but their main people that are generating sales and decision makers, they are not active on LinkedIn. They're not posting. They're not active. They're not connecting with prospects. Because they say, well, we don't have time for that. So you're spending thousands of dollars on ads, and then you just don't simply post, on LinkedIn. So whenever someone joins our organization, especially on the sales end, we always make sure that the profiles are active, then we're connecting with clients, that we're sending messages to them, we are engaging with their brands, with their companies, we're creating value on LinkedIn. And in that way you can generate, additional exposure, additional awareness. And then you can also use LinkedIn for nurturing, right? Because right now the sales process is not about one call, one email. It's about the relationship during a year, 2 years, 5 years. So if you didn't make the sale right now, then you would make the sale in a year, in 2 years. But what's happening with your prospect over the span of that 1 or 2 years? How they're engaging with your brand? Do they just see the ads or just receive an emails? Or they also connected with you on LinkedIn? They received a gift basket or like a letter or whatever. Like just think about like the overall customer journey over the longer span of time, and then how you are sort of like engaging with that prospect, and then use LinkedIn in one of those platforms to actually help you in that engagement process.
Yeah. So I don't know. Do you want to go through one more?
No. I think let's go to the last part of it where we talk about.
Yeah, let's do it. So
yeah.
So unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time left, and we'll just go ahead and stick with the marketing and software. And we do have this report downloadable. You can find it, and also I think you should be seeing it after our webinar today. But anyways, to finish off, so basically, steps that business owners should take to lessen uncertainty. identifying your main most attractive market via market segmentation, establishing a clear value-based hypothesis that will guide the segmentation, also generating customer data and insights. And then point 4, analyze data and group customers into ICPs. If you don't know what an ICP is, it's an ideal customer profile. So basically you're coming up with the exact perfect match for you and your company for who you want to reach out to. So I guess you could say your ideal target. So who you really want to reach, whether that's industry size, company, first name, last name, that's not really, that's just part of the research. But, the titles, obviously you want to know who you should be reaching out to, because even the pain points themselves, your service, your platform, your product, whatever you have, whatever your offering is, it definitely speaks louder to some titles instead of others. And so if you're not, segmenting, and if you're not targeting those specific titles, you're really missing out, and you could be missing a lot more growth just because you're maybe reaching out to everyone in a specific company. Maybe you're reaching out to 10 people in a specific company. And then at that point, you're spending more time and resources on reaching out to less companies, but more prospects from that company, just because you haven't actually tried to sit down and understand, okay, exactly who could I reach out to that would be most responsive, a good decision maker, but also would be most relative to what I'm offering. So then moving on as well, evaluate the attractiveness of each segment. Find leads in micro segment, educate your sales team, and then closely manage your team's performance. Overall, those are, just a couple of the steps, Michael. You've been managing teams.
Yeah, that's a great list. A lot of, we've missed a few when we started, a few points when we started, for sure. One of the just tips for you guys. So whenever you, the question is like, how do I create my ideal client profile? How do I know what companies to target? And very often we wanted to do is go and talk to our clients or talk to our account management team about what clients we work with, right? But very often the end users, or the companies that you work with, or the companies that, or the people that are, or the titles that are budget holders, they're not necessarily are the ones that will open the email and engage with you at the first place, right? So because of that, you shouldn't assume. It's better to test. And by testing, what I mean is, whenever you have a possibility to test your email campaign or whatever marketing campaign against titles type A or titles type B or title type C, you always test a lot of that. You don't just assume, hey, well, these are head of engineering are our decision makers, right? Because that might be so different. That's why always test it before actually making a final call. And if you don't test it, then you will end up not to being able to segment down the audience to very niche, very with a much higher conversion. And also it's also about the prioritization. So very often what's happening when a lot of our clients before working with us, they buy this ready to make lists or use like Zoom Info, and they scrape out the list with leads that is not in the matter of priority. They're just a bunch of different titles that are not structured. And then because of that, you cannot make the right decisions of the results of it. So also having the right data set in the right structured manner when the titles are split by the category or by the buying persona, it's very important to actually end up, having a data to then make some smart decisions on that data later.
So overall, key takeaways, in outbound tactics to start implementing. One of my favorite is first one, personalization. As much personalization as you can create, the better. Knowing exactly who you're reaching out to, and then reaching out to them with a specific message that is tailored exactly for them. Not just a general kind of just, hey, hop on a call, but actually reaching out to them, showing that you know about them, their pain points, exactly what they need. And you're proving that to them in your emails. That's not only going to get you more responses, but it's going to get you a better client, because the client understands that you're going into this having done work to try and actually reach them because you did your due diligence and you really did dive into understanding them specifically. Segmentation and targeting, kind of like what Michael was just saying. It's about targeting, and it's about understanding who your target is and how to properly, set that up. Data security, we also talked a little bit about how that is something that's more in in thriving period right now. You know, a lot more companies, a lot more industries are really interested in data security. So I would recommend trying to get on that trend for sure. You know, automation and cutting edge AI tools. That's once again one of those things that's hopping right now. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's into it. It's, if you do it the right way, it can really definitely help you. It can definitely help to save you time, help to save you money, help to ensure that you're actually growing, and you're growing in a way that you're not spending every single last minute that you have just trying to personally teach someone, but actually just saying, here's a solution, you can learn it, it's going to help you. And you just, you know, go from there. And then account generation. Yeah, obviously, you know, account generation, it's, you got to have it. I mean, you have to have understanding that your accounts are now coming into play. Your accounts are now being, you know, more effective, and you're building these relationships, and you're building these, you know, collaborations that last a long time. And if you don't have new accounts to generate, then you're, you know, sooner or later going to run into some, you know, heavy decisions that you have to deal with. So
Yeah. These are just 5 of the points. I'm sure we expanded on these points in the report actually. And yeah, these are just the main ones that people voted for, and they consider to be their main sort of like tactics that they wanted or thinking about implementing in 2023. So, you know, we personally start, you know, we always are the fans of new technology, and you know, we have all the tag that is out there. So starting with you know, like HubSpot that is integrated with like marketing and sales professional level, and then different routing tools like Chili Piper for inbound, different plant hat system for client management, different HiBobs, etc., etc. So we have a bunch of different tools that talk together and work. And then everything is integrated with Slack, where like it's always like entertaining with a lot of different like Zapier integration and all of that. But that technology just help us to increase the engagement and increase the utilization of that technology. But also we're trying to use it to leverage and sort of like automate some of that work that we are doing to make it easier, so that people can enjoy more that personalization part, the interaction part, rather than just building the reports or just putting manually data and doing some other things, right? But all of those items should be kind of combined together, right, into creating the system. You cannot just use one or the second. And really, for the successful campaign, you need to sort of like think about all of those points, and then obviously have a team to help you out with that. You cannot do it alone. That's why you need to have a very strong team that would be able to execute on those things, on the strategy that you have, right? But then also use partners, right? We have a lot of partners that we rely on. We outsource a lot because we know that we are the best in the appointment setting, but maybe we're not the best into all other things, right? So we just are looking for the best that would support some other ways too. Because right now, you know, building the company and the business and the successful company is not just about, you know, having the team and building that and just the team against the world. It's the company is the world, right? So it's like, it's a connection, it's the network, it's the partnerships. And this is the live thing that is moving ahead and building. And I just, you know, executing all of those things is again, important for the successful of the project. So.
yeah, I mean, Michael and I were pretty much set up for an impossible task, which was to break down a report that's extremely detailed with very many slides, whether 128 or 180. You know, there's quite a few. So obviously, be sure to check out our report. We've definitely got some extra minutes right now that we're going to spend to answer some questions. We actually do have a question and answer section. Yeah, we did actually set up also another poll. So if you have time, go ahead and leave your thoughts. But overall, be sure to check out our report in more detail. And please, any questions you have, go ahead and send them. And Michael and I will answer some questions.
There's one question here in the chat that Hampus asked about when Belkins do appointment setting, the SDRs, do they, how do they send emails, what domains they're using? So the way it usually works is we set up our own dedicated domains and email IDs and everything. So we do that on your behalf, but we, again, do that on your behalf. So it means that we use your company aliases, your names, your employees' name, everything. So it's sort of like an extension to your company. We don't use our own domains for that because, again, for the reasons that we've mentioned at the very beginning of this webinar, it's about building brand, it's about exposure, it's about engagements. It's not just about the appointments, right? That's why we really want to make sure that your company name is seen as many times as we can. And then
Peter, yeah, you asked, can you follow up by phone after emails part of your offering? I mean, yeah, I think actually when I started doing sales, I started with a kind of mix of emails and then phone calls. Back then, phone calls were very popular. I think it's definitely becoming a little bit more popular now. But yeah, I mean, throw in a mix. You know, sometimes you have the right prospect, but you just don't have the right means of reaching them. Some prospects prefer emails, some prospects prefer phone calls. So it's not going to hurt you one way or another by leaving a couple voicemails.
yeah, but it's better to do that as the second touch, right? So first you do the email outreach, you generate some exposure, and then in every engagement tool, Peter, they have this stats where you can see who opened in email and how many times, and then you can export that list, and then you can give that list to one of your sales guys to call on. So then when they're going to be calling the list, the prospect on the other end, they would already see your name, saw you, engage with you, so you're going to have much higher conversion. And then but don't do the cold calling first and then the email, but do that first.
You want to be able to talk about what you sent, for sure. That's definitely important.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Dave, what is considered good regarding email open and response rates?
So I think that anything above like 50% is a good open rate. Anything below that is somewhere average. So between 40 to 55% is average. About 55 to 60% is a very strong, good performance. Anything about below 30% is just the waste. So you definitely
time to change things up.
Yeah, exactly. And then in terms of the response rate, Josh, what do you think? I think like somewhere around 10% is the like good average performance. Anything above that, 15 plus, it's a very good. And anything below 10, like 5, 7, it's bad response rate, right?
Yeah, and it really does depend on who you're reaching out to. I know that there's like kind of a standard that if you're reaching out to, like, for say enterprise companies, expecting lower numbers is totally normal. Like I worked with a client and they had been doing this as well, similar to what we've been doing, and they said that they pretty much based off of a 3% response rate and a 30% open rate, specifically for enterprise levels. But I would say that anywhere between 5 to 10 is still, you should probably go back to the books and check what you can maybe make a little bit stronger call to actions, a little bit more informative emails. But yeah, like you said, Michael, I think that anywhere above 10 for response rate is good. And then open rate is the same. Yeah.
For those who stayed on, and we apologize that we took 2 minutes out of the scheduled time, I just send you a link in the chat. This is a industry benchmark list that we've collected of the 10 million emails that were sent by our SDRs. So this is the list of industries with their average open rate and reply rate. And then you can see what is above average or below average for your industry. This is not the industry that you are from. It's the industry that you're emailing to, right? So if you're emailing e-commerce or you're contacting civil engineering or accounting business or oil and energy, etc. So these are the average benchmarks that you can check out and against your. Again, this is just for those folks. Appreciate that you've joined us, and thanks for staying on for a longer time. Again, when you have me and Josh on the call, we're probably going to take 2 more hours just to cover all the information that we have prepared for you.
Yeah. Well, once again, thank you, Michael, so much for taking your time to spend an hour with me. I appreciate it. If you haven't yet, we have YouTube. Please go ahead and go check it out. We've got a lot of different things there. We've got webinars, growth tips and stuff like that. And then also testimonials as well. But if you have any more questions and you'd like to learn even more, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn. You can even set up a free consultation on our website, but we would love to be in touch with you and answer any questions that you might have or any needs that you might have. But yeah, once again, Michael, thank you so much. It was great having you.
Thanks, George, for having me. Had a lot of fun. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, everyone.
Happy Monday.